So today's video is addressing breathing and how to breathe correctly, as well as the anatomy behind breathing. Now, the benefits of breathing correctly not only help overall well-being and to reduce stress, it also helps to reduce neck tension, and I'll cover that in a little bit more detail. So our primary breathing muscle is called the diaphragm. Many of you might already know about this. It is a muscle. It is a dome-shaped muscle, and it sits tucked into our rib cage. So if you think of it as a seal separating the upper cavity, the chest cavity, the thorax, and the abdominal cavity. So if you feel along your sides, you'll feel some sort of bony parts, a little bit harder, that's your rib cage. And then it starts to become a little bit squidgy. So then you know this is the abdominal cavity, this is the thoracic cavity. So the diaphragm sits snugged up into the rib cage. On top of the diaphragm, we've got the heart and the lungs. The lungs start from all the way at the top here, above your clavicle, your collarbone, and go down and posteriorly to the back, to below, to the 12th rib, to the lowest rib in the rib cage. So they go to the back along, as I already mentioned. So in the diaphragm, how it works is that when you inhale, the diaphragm moves down. Now, sometimes people get a little bit confused about this, because when you're inhaling, the reason that the diaphragm is going down is to create more space in our lungs, because our lungs expand with the air. So we need to push the viscera, the abdominal contents down. So as you breathe in, the diaphragm naturally goes down. That's why you'll feel the belly start to protrude a little bit. Of course, that will then put a little bit of pressure onto the pelvic floor. As you exhale, the diaphragm comes up into the rib cage. So think of one of those bellows when you are wanting to increase the fire in your log burner. You blow oxygen. So as you open the arms of the bellows, it's like our rib cage opening up, and then the diaphragm moves down. As you bring the handles together, the ribs come down and the diaphragm comes up. I hope that's making sense. So it's like a wave-like function. This is how a rib cage naturally works. The ribs expand like bucket handles and come down. In between each rib, there's intercostal muscles that help with this expansion. And this is a beautiful natural rhythm that happens without our conscious control. And of course, as you breathe in, it goes down, pushing the viscera down, but it's also gently pulling on the heart and the lungs because they are attached to the diaphragm. As you exhale, it's pulling the viscera up. And this is like a gentle wave-like movement, which is really good for the perfusion of tissues, for bringing in fresh oxygen supply and squeezing out toxins. So just imagine this is naturally happening without your conscious awareness, the diaphragm moving up and down. Now the diaphragm is innervated, the nerve supply is from the phrenic nerve, which runs down on both sides and starts at your vertebra in your neck, cervical vertebra C5, C3, C4, C5. So if the diaphragm is tight and not breathing optimally, it can affect the neck. And conversely the same, if the neck is restricted, it can affect the diaphragm, because if the neck, if the nerve is being impinged slightly. So another reason for us to really make sure that our diaphragm is moving beautifully, if you think of like an ocean, this ebb and flow happens naturally in nature all the time, even down to our cells. Our cells are expanding and contracting. It's a natural process. So if this is not working optimally, our secondary breathing muscles For example, our scalene muscles, our sternocleidomastoid muscles, these all kick in to help lift the rib cage up, to get more air in. And you'll notice that if we're stressed in modern day life, many people are upper breathers. If you stand in front of the mirror and take a deep breath in, you might notice that you only breathe in a very shallow way up here, and this creates so much tightness in the neck. You can see some people's neck muscles are really tight and taut. So by focusing on correct breathing, not only are you helping all of the organs and well-being of your system, you're also helping to release neck tension. So I hope you found that theory part quite interesting. So now we're going to get onto the practical. I always like to understand why. So I've got a resistance band. If you don't have that, you can take a belt from a gown, something soft, or a towel, and you're going to put it along your rib cage. This just helps to give feedback. You can use your hands, but then that creates tension here. So ideally you want your arms to be completely down by their sides. Okay, so also ideally we should be doing this standing, which I will demonstrate shortly, but it's just easier to explain all of the theory being seated. Right, so we're wanting to make sure we're not slouched forward. We're lifting the sternum up, and you can imagine some warm light shining on your chest. So your chest is opening. As your chest opens, the shoulder blades naturally go down the back. Almost like imagining sunshine opening your chest and a waterfall running down your back, softening your shoulder blades down. So it shouldn't be any sort of forced effort of upright. Just visualize a gentle hook lengthening you up, but your sit bones are connected. So what we want to imagine is that we are initiating our breathing from the diaphragm. Remember, it's a sealed dome muscle. There's only 3 holes in it. Otherwise, it's sealed. It's for the vena cava, the esophagus, and the aorta. Other than that, it's completely sealing off those cavities. So gently put your hands wherever is comfortable, and you want to visualize that as you breathe from here, the ribs are opening up and that diaphragm is moving down. And as you exhale, the diaphragm is coming up and the rib cage is coming in. My elbows are representing the rib cage. Okay, so you're going to do a soft inhale through the nose. Imagine like a concertina opening. And as you exhale through the mouth, the concertina is coming together. Those bucket handles are coming down, or the edges of the lower ribs are coming together. The intercostal muscles are helping that. So let's do that a few more times. So this can be deeply relaxing. You're not wanting to breathe too forcefully out the mouth. If you breathe too forcefully, you're engaging the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight, flight, flee part of your nervous system. It's not a bad part of your nervous system, but it's energizing. And what we're wanting to do here is we're wanting to go more into the parasympathetic state of just rest, digest, relaxation, soft, gentle breathing. So we're going to inhale for 4 counts. Pause for 2. And gently exhale for 8. Inhale for 4. Pause. And gently exhale for 8. If you find that rhythm too difficult for you, you can alter it to whatever feels good for you, but ideally a longer exhale. Inhale for 4. Hold for 2. Soft, no tension. Exhale for 8. And ideally you're wanting to think of something that's really joyful, that really makes you happy, whether it's hearing the birds singing or the sun shining, something where your body feels safe. This should be a safe, comfortable movement. So try and engage with a memory that makes you or visualization that feels joyful to you. Let's do 2 more. Inhale for 4. Pause for 2. And gently exhale. This helps to reduce the cortisol levels, the adrenaline levels, the stress physiology in our body. So you can do that a few times throughout the day, to take pauses in your day, to just sit down and breathe. You can set an alarm on your phone and just do 2 minutes of breathing. It will really change the physiology and help the stress in your body. So what's important to finish off with is that you can do this in front of a mirror. You're wanting to make sure that the energy from the diaphragm moving is not just breathing into your belly or just breathing into your chest. So it might be helpful to place one hand on the chest, one hand on the belly. And you're wanting to feel that as the diaphragm is moving, there's a ripple effect of movement in the chest cavity, the thoracic cavity, and the abdominal cavity. And it's not just up and down, it's also to the back. You want to feel your whole ribcage at the back opening up, and the whole abdominal cavity and the lumbar spine. You want to feel this expansion in the frontal plane, and in the front and the front and the back of both chest and abdominal cavity. So placing one hand onto your chest, one hand onto your abdomen. Remember, thinking of something that's really joyful. You can close your eyes if you want to, or just a soft gaze, and let's do 4 more iterations of that breathing. 4, hold for 2, exhale for 8. With the focus of breathing into the hand and the chest. Now this is step 2, so if you find this a little bit challenging, you can just focus on that first exercise and come back to this at another stage. And exhale. Smiling, making sure there's no tension in the face, no tension in the upper body. Inhale for 4. Pause for 2. Exhale for 8. I forgot to mention this at the beginning. The reason we have the band here is so that you've got some feedback to feel the rib cage expanding. And you might even be able to see it if you're standing in front of the mirror. So we're going to finish off with standing. You can bring your feet together, turn the toes out, turn the heels out. Just rocking backwards and forwards, spread the toes, feel your feet really, really anchored into the ground. Softly bend the knees. So you don't want too much of a bend, but you don't want to be hyperextending the knees. And as I've said before, just lift the sternum up. Imagine the chest opening, the collarbones are opening, and the shoulder blades are melting down the back gently. So we don't want to be arching the back. We don't want to be too far forwards. We want our pelvis to be gently tucked in, ribs down, but the sternum is gently lifted without flaring the rib cage. So it's a lot to take in, but if you can just try and revisit that on your own, or just think rib cage down, sternum gently lifted, knees soft. And now our hands are relaxed by your side, and we're going to do 2 more of that breathing exercise. So inhaling. I'm replicating what the ribs are doing with my arms and the diaphragm, and exhale. You don't have to do this. So as we breathe in, diaphragm is moving down. Feel it in your chest and your stomach. You're pausing for 2. As you exhale in, the diaphragm is moving up, snuggling up into that chest cavity. I'm going to relax my hands by the side so I can just join you with another 2. Pause for 2. Exhale. Soft, gentle exhale through the mouth. You can do it through the nose as well, but just feel the breath over the lips. I hope you found that beneficial. Thank you for joining me.